Hello guys, welcome to Bhavna's Online Academy. So in this video we are going to learn the AS22, that is the accounting for taxes on income. So this is one of those standards that students usually find a little bit technical or difficult. So we are going to try and make this standard easier for you all. Yes. So let's start with the standard. So accounting for taxes on income. So starting with the topic, the first thing that you would need to understand is that this standard particularly talks about the taxes which are calculated on income. Okay, so that means this is talking about the income tax only. It is not talking about GST or any of your other indirect taxes. This only talks about the accounting on income tax. Okay. So now what we are going to understand is we are going to see an example through which I'll explain you all the concepts and then we'll see all the concepts in detail. Okay. Yes. So the question is that net income before tax of A Limited is 1 lakh rupees. A Limited has raised a loan of 50,000 rupees at a rate of interest 20% per annum in the beginning of the year. The year's interest is still outstanding by the end of the year. Tax rate is 30%. So what they say in the question is that A Limited is a firm. It has a net income that is before tax of 1 lakh rupees and it in the same year it has also taken a loan of 50,000 rupees for which it has to pay 20% interest per annum in the beginning of the year itself. Okay, and they say that this year's interest is still outstanding by the end of the year, that by the year end also they haven't yet paid the 20% interest on the loan and the tax rate is 30%. Okay, so this is the question. It's a very simple question. Okay, so usually you can calculate tax. So usually you can calculate tax using two ways. Okay. So one, what you usually do is you prepare your P&L account, which you do in your accounts. No. So you prepare the P&L account. You find out what is your net profit before tax, and on net profit before tax then you find out your tax, and then finally you get net profit after tax. Okay, so this is what you usually do when you do your P&L. And the other way is that using your tax laws, that is the income tax laws you use, and according to that you find out your tax. Okay, so in your direct tax you would have done the tax computation and all, right? So that is another way of finding out your tax. So there are totally two methods. One is using your income tax laws or direct tax, and the other way is using your accounting principles. Okay, fine. So yes, so now we have to learn a few terms. So if you are preparing our P&L account, the amount that we have before tax will be known as our accounting income. So here, like I said, no, the net profit before tax, that is before deducting your taxes, the profit that you have, the net profit before tax will be known as your accounting income. This will be known as your accounting income. Okay. And when you are calculating your tax as per your tax laws, before deducting your tax, the income or the net profit before tax that you have, it will be known as your taxable income. Why will it be known as your taxable income? Because on this income only you are going to calculate your tax, and this tax is what you are going to pay to the government also. Okay, so there are two types of income. One is as per P&L. So as per P&L, the income before you deduct your tax is known as your accounting income, and in as per tax laws, the income that is there before deducting the taxes is known as your taxable income. So two simple words: accounting income, taxable income. Okay, now what you need to understand is that as per tax laws, that is as per your income tax laws, the tax that you calculate, as per your income tax laws will be known as your current tax. What it will be known as? It will be known as your current tax. So income will be known as taxable income, and the tax calculated on that taxable income will be called as your current tax. Okay. And once you come as per your accounting in the P&L, so your net profit before tax was known as accounting income. So on that accounting income, whatever tax you calculate and find out, it will be known as your tax expense. What will be it known as? It will be known as your tax expense. So you have two varieties in taxes also. One is current tax and the other one is tax expense. So I hope until this you are clear. Now let's move on to the question. So let's first find out the tax as per our accounting principles, or how you usually prepare our P&L account. Okay. So in the question, as you saw, we had a net income before tax of A Limited of rupees 1 lakh rupees. So your net income is 1 lakh rupees. Net income is 1 lakh rupees. Okay. So and also in the question they have told that that particular year you have taken a loan of 50,000 rupees, for which you would need to pay an interest of 20%. Okay. So but what happened in the same year, you did not pay the interest at all. So basically it is nothing but your outstanding interest, because in the current year you had to pay and the expense was belonging to the current year, but the interest that year you did not pay. So that will be your outstanding interest for this year. Okay. So what we do usually is that we usually take the outstanding expense, and when we are preparing our P&L account, we debit it. Okay. That's, we put it on the debit side and we take it as expense and deduct it from our income. Okay. So what you need to remember is, as per accounting principles, what they say is you need to follow the rule of accrual. That is, you have to book all the expenses on accrual basis only. That means whether or not you have paid the expense, if the expense is relating to the current year, you have to book it as an expense. I'll repeat it again, whether or not you have paid the expense. So in this current year, did you pay the interest expense of 20%? No, you did not pay. So whether or not you have paid, if the expense is belonging to the current year, you have to book it as an expense. So what happens when we book interest outstanding as expense? So how much is the interest outstanding? It is 20% of 50,000. That is 10,000 rupees is your interest outstanding. So your income was 1 lakh, in that you have an expense of 10,000. So the income will get reduced and it will become 90,000. So 1 lakh minus 10,000, 90,000. So what is this 90,000 known as? I told you in the starting itself, this 90,000 will be known as your accounting income. This will be known as your accounting income. So now let's find out tax. Tax at 30%. This rate has been already given in the question itself. So tax at 30% will be 27,000 and your remaining net profit after tax will be 63,000. So what will you call this 27,000 as? You will call this as your tax expense. So I hope this is clear. Okay. Now what happens is that when you are computing your income as per your tax laws, you will write the same. Your net profit is 1 lakh rupees only. Okay. But now when it comes to interest, there is a section as per Income Tax Act. That section is your section 43B. What section 43B says is that the interest should only be allowed on payment basis. The expense should be only allowed on payment basis. That means, what it means is that even though the expense is belonging to the current year only, but if in this year you have not paid the interest, you must not book it as an expense. So I'll repeat it again. What this says is that even though the expense or the interest is belonging to the current year only, if you have not paid the interest, you must not book it as an expense in the current year, or you must not debit it. Okay. So what will happen? So in the current year, since you have not paid the interest, you cannot, take it as an expense and deduct from net profit. So due to the income tax provisions. Okay. So the interest here will be nil. There will be no interest. So since there is no expense, the net profit will be the same, which is 1 lakh rupees. So what do you call this 1 lakh rupees? I already told you, this 1 lakh rupees will be known as your taxable income, because on this income only you are going to calculate the tax. So the tax at 30% will be 30,000 and the remaining net profit is 70,000. So what will this 30,000 tax will be known as? It will be known as your current tax. It will be known as your current tax. Okay. So now here there is one thing that you would need to notice is that when you calculated your tax as per tax laws, your tax was 30,000 rupees. Your tax was 30,000 rupees. But when you calculated your tax as per the accounting principle, tax was 20,000 rupees. So here what has happened, there is a difference between taxes, right? Because as per your accounting records, your tax is 27,000 rupees. But whereas as per your tax laws, the tax is 30,000 rupees. That means this 30,000, so whatever you calculate as per your tax laws is what you're going to pay to the government also. So what they say is what you're going to pay to the government is 30,000 rupees. What you're going to pay to the government is 30,000 rupees. But as per our accounting records, the tax is actually 27,000 only. So what happens here? Here there is a 1 minute. Yes. So here there is a difference of how much? 30,000 minus 27,000. There is a difference of 3,000 rupees. There's a difference of 3,000 rupees. Okay. So first let's analyze why there is a difference of 3,000 rupees, and later on I'll explain more about it. So as the first thing that you can see here is that accounting income is 90,000 rupees, due to which the tax was 27,000, whereas your taxable income was 1 lakh rupees, due to which expense was 30,000 rupees. So here what clearly happened is that your taxable income was 1 lakh, whereas your accounting income was 90,000. So here what has happened, since your taxable income is higher than your accounting income, your current tax is also higher than your tax expense. So due to this there is a difference. Due to this there is a difference of 3,000 rupees. Okay. So until now I hope you would have understood. Okay. So now let's see. Okay. So what happens is that this 3,000 rupees difference which is there, you will record this 3,000 rupees difference as your deferred tax. You will record this 3,000 rupees difference as your deferred tax. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to prepare a revised income statement. We are going to prepare a revised income statement, that is income statement in the angle of accounting angle only you are going to prepare, not in the angle of tax. As per accounting angle only you will prepare. So now let's prepare a revised income statement. So here what happens, so your net income was 1 lakh rupees only, and then since you are making your accounting records as per your accrual basis or accrual concept, you will book an interest of 10,000 rupees even though you have not paid on, because it is belonging to the current year. Okay. So then what will happen here is that, so 1 lakh minus 10,000, 90,000 will be your accounting income. So 90,000 will be your accounting income. Correct. So on this 90,000, what will you do as per your accounting uncle? 27,000 rupees. 27,000 rupees. 27,000 will be your tax expense. So 27,000. See. 27,000 will be your tax expense, because 30% on 90,000 will be your tax. So 27,000 will be your tax expense. But what has happened here is your current tax is 30,000. But the tax that you need to show in the income statement is 27,000 only. So what you do 30,000 minus 3,000 so that you can get 27,000. And repeat it again. The tax expense that you need to show as per your income statement or your accounting records is 27,000 only. But your current tax was 30,000. So the difference of 3,000, what you do, you reduce. That is, you do 30,000 minus 3,000. So you can get 27,000. So I told you, what will you call this difference of 3,000 as? You will call this as your deferred tax. What will you call this as? You'll call this as your deferred tax. So it is nothing but, simply I'll write here, see. So what was this? So it was current tax of 30,000 minus deferred tax of 3,000. I'll write here, yes, which will get you your tax expense of 27,000. So this is what we have done, and the same 63,000 you get here. 63,000 profit after tax. Here also 63,000 profit after tax. Okay. So now until now we have understood that this 3,000 difference you will call as deferred tax. But one thing that you would need to also understand is that there are two types of deferred tax. One is deferred tax asset and the other one is deferred tax liability. One is deferred tax asset and the other one is deferred tax liability. So now the confusion that arises here is that whether this 3,000 which you have reduced from 30,000, or simply whether this 3,000 will be a deferred tax asset or will it be a deferred tax liability. So that is the main question that arises here. So I'll tell you a simple method, after which I'll explain you the logic. For now, understand what the method is. Okay. So whenever you do current tax minus deferred tax, it will be a deferred tax asset. Whenever you do current tax plus deferred tax, that is to get your tax expense. So when you do current tax plus deferred tax, that time it will be your deferred tax liability. So what is the rule that you have to remember? If you do current tax minus deferred tax to get your tax expense, it will be your deferred tax asset. If you do current tax plus deferred tax to get your tax expense, it will be your deferred tax liability. Okay. So now you may ask, what is the logic behind this deferred tax, writing it as a deferred tax asset or writing it as a deferred tax liability? I'll explain that to you in a while. For now, we'll first complete this example. Okay. So now we have understood the first part. So this was year 1. So this is what happened in the year 1. Now let's move on to year 2. So in year 2, what happened we are going to see. Okay. Yes. Okay. So what happened in the subsequent year was that subsequent year means nothing but your year 2. So in year 2 what happened was that interest outstanding of last year was paid. What happened? Last year the interest that you didn't pay, this year that you have paid. This year that you have paid. Okay. And the second thing what happened was that the loan amount, that is the 50,000 loan which you had taken, no? That loan amount you have paid in the beginning of the year itself. You have paid it in the beginning of the year itself. So if you have paid the loan in the beginning of the year means for that whole year you don't have the loan with you. That means you have no loan. Means you have to pay no interest in that year. Okay. So fine. So now what we are going to do, we are going to again prepare the same thing. You are going to find out tax as per your accounting records, and then you will find out your tax as per your income tax laws. So let's start with finding out our income as per our accounting records. Okay. Yes. So what you do, here we'll assume that the net profit before tax this year also is 1 lakh only. So with that assumption we'll do. So net profit before tax is 1 lakh rupees as usual. And what happened when you come to deduct the interest, this year there is no loan at all. Correct. This year there is no loan. So therefore you will not book any interest at all. So there is no expense. That means what happens, your accounting income is how much? Your accounting income is also 1 lakh only. Okay, fine. So then you find tax at 30% on your accounting income, which comes up to 30,000 rupees, and this will be known as your tax expense. This will be known as your tax expense. Okay. And then you get a net profit after tax of 70,000. Okay. Now when you find out your income as per your tax law, what will happen is that the same thing, you will have a net profit of 1 lakh rupees. Net profit of 1 lakh rupees. What happened was that, do you remember the section here? What did the section say? Section 43B said, you will be allowed to take interest as an expense or a deduction when you pay it. That means whenever you pay this interest, you will get it as a deduction. So what happened in the year 2? In the year 2, the last year's interest outstanding was paid. That means last year interest was paid during this year. So due to section 43B, as we book on payment basis, last year interest which is paid in current year, 10,000 rupees you can take as an expense in this year. Why? Because in this year it was paid. So due to the law or the income tax section, you have to take it as expense this year and deduct it from your net profit. So 1 lakh minus 10,000, so your taxable income will be 90,000 rupees. So your taxable income will be 90,000 rupees. So what will be the, sorry, it's not tax expense here, it is current tax. So what will be your current tax? So your current tax will be at 30%, which is 27,000 will be your current tax. And then you will get net profit after tax of 67,000. Okay. So now we have found out our tax as per our accounting records also and tax as per our income tax law also. Okay. Now what is the tax as per income tax law that we found out? The tax as per income tax law was 27,000, whereas the tax as per accounting income was 30,000, whereas it was 30,000. So here what happened was that our tax as per income tax law is less than tax as per accounting records. Okay. So why is there a difference? So here also how much difference is there? 30,000, 27,000. Here also 3,000 rupees difference is there. So here also 3,000 rupees difference is there. So why is this 3,000 rupees difference there? If you look on closely, you will get to understand it is due to the income. It is due to the taxable income and the accounting income. Since your accounting income this time was more than taxable income, therefore your tax expense is also more than your current tax. That means to the government you are paying 27,000 rupees only. But what you are booking in your books as per your accounting records is 30,000 rupees. What you give to the government is less than what you have booked in your books. Okay, so this difference of 3,000. So again the same way we will prepare a revised statement of P&L. So net profit before tax will be 1 lakh. As per accounting record, since there is no loan, there will be no interest. So no interest at all. Then here you will have your accounting income. Here you will have your accounting income and then tax expense. How much was your tax expense? Your tax expense was 30,000 rupees. In that 30,000 rupees, what happened? Your current tax was 27,000 only, but your tax expense was 30,000. So this 3,000, what will you do? You will add 3,000 with 27,000 to get 30,000. You will add 3,000 with 27,000 to get your 30,000. So this 3,000 which you add here, what did I tell you? What will be known as? It will be known as your deferred tax. It will be known as deferred tax. Okay. So now what did I tell you second? You can only not name it as deferred tax. It must either be a deferred tax asset or it must be a deferred tax liability. So in a simple way, what did I tell you? How to find out deferred, whether it is a deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability? Here I told you, if you minus it from current tax, it will be a deferred tax asset. Whereas if you add it to current tax to get your tax expense, it will be a liability. So here what we have done, we have added it. So therefore it is nothing but your deferred tax liability. So this 3,000 is your deferred tax liability. Okay, and then you get your net profit after tax of 70,000 rupees. So until now, I hope you have understood all the concepts. So now what I'll do is I'll explain all the concepts that I have taught you through this example in detail, and I'll also explain you more about the deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability now. Okay. Yes. So see, what is accounting income? Let's not study. You yourself know now what is accounting income. Accounting is income as per your accounting records, correct? So it is nothing but the net profit or loss as reported in the statement of P&L. That you know. What is taxable income? The income as per your income tax laws on which the tax is computed. These both you know. Okay. What is tax expense? The tax in the statement of P&L. What is current tax? Current tax is the tax payable as per IT laws or as per your income tax laws. Okay, fine. So these four terminologies you would have understood now. And I also said one more thing, that current tax plus or minus deferred tax will give you your tax expense. So current tax plus or minus deferred tax will give you your tax expense. So whenever there is a difference between current tax and tax expense, what you do? You add or less the deferred tax. Depending on whether you add or reduce it, you will get your deferred tax liability or your deferred tax asset. Okay. Yes. Now see, I told what is deferred tax. Deferred tax is nothing but the tax effect of timing differences. So what is written here? It is a tax effect of timing differences. So now the question is, what is this timing differences? Okay. So now let's see more about timing differences. Okay. So there are two kinds of differences. So before we get into this, I'll just complete this. So deferred tax can either be a deferred tax asset or it can be a deferred tax liability. Okay, fine. So effect of timing differences. So now let's understand what are the kinds of differences. So there are two types of differences. So there are two types of differences. One is timing difference and the other one is permanent difference. One is timing difference and the other one is permanent difference. So first, in simple terms, if I have to tell you, only when you get timing difference, you will create either a deferred tax asset or a deferred tax liability. In case if it is a permanent difference, you will not create a deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability. I don't know why this pen is slow. Okay. So remember always timing difference, only if timing difference is there, you will create DTA or DTL. If permanent difference is there, you will not create DTA or DTL. Okay, fine. So what you must have understood by now is that in the example that we saw, it was a timing difference only. Now how it was a timing difference, that I'll explain. But since it was a timing difference only, we created DTA or DTL. Okay, fine. Yes. So see, here what they say is, here they have explained you what is timing difference and then they have explained you what is permanent difference. So first let's understand what is a timing difference. So what they tell you is that timing difference is the difference between, or let's take in a simple sense, not timing also. For now, take out this word timing. What is difference? So difference is between your taxable income and your accounting income is the difference. So when you have, see, like how we saw, so the taxable income was 1 lakh whereas the accounting income was only 90,000. Okay. So taxable income or accounting income, if there is a difference between them, it will be known as a difference. So in simple terms, difference is nothing but your difference between accounting income and your taxable income. Okay, this you would have understood what is difference. Now what we have to understand is, what does this timing word mean here? Okay, it means that the difference which is there between this accounting income and taxable income will originate in one period and then it will also get reversed in another period. That means whatever difference is there between the taxable income and accounting income, in case if suppose the taxable income is 1 lakh and the accounting income is 90,000, or in our example, what was it? Yes, accounting income was 90,000 and taxable income was 1 lakh. Okay. So how much difference is there now? In this, there is a difference of 10,000 rupees. Your taxable income is more by 10,000. So this 10,000 difference, what they are trying to say is, this 10,000 difference may arise in one period. That means, suppose in year 1, this 10,000 difference might come. But what they tell here is, it is also capable of reversal. That means, in the following years or in the coming up years, this 10,000 difference will get reversed. Will get reversed means what? It will get reversed means some or the other day or in the coming up years, your accounting income will be 10,000 more than your taxable income, or even more simpler form, in case if I have to take like an example, your accounting income will become 1 lakh where your taxable income will become 90,000. So anyhow, it must be 10,000 more. Your accounting income will be 10,000 more. Okay, so this difference of 10,000 will get reversed in the coming up years. If this 10,000 difference is getting reversed in the coming up years, in that means it is a timing difference. That means for just for time's sake or just for now, this 10,000 difference is there. But in the coming years, this 10,000 difference will get reversed. Okay. Yes. So this is what is the timing difference. So a good example to this would be your depreciation. A good example to it would be your depreciation. Okay. So in depreciation, you have year 1, year 2, year 3. Let's take depreciation for 3 years. As per accounting, what we do is we follow the SLM. We follow the SLM and we book depreciation for all 3 years as 2 lakh, 2 lakh, 2 lakh and the total is 6 lakh. Whereas as per your income tax, what they say here is that in the first year, you can only book a depreciation of 3 lakh rupees. Okay. And then they tell you in the second year, you can book 2 lakh. In the third year, you can book 1 lakh. Okay. In case there is some provision and they tell you that you can only do like this. Here what will happen is that here the total will again get 6 lakh only. Okay. But the expense that you are booking will be different in all the 3 years, but when you see it as a consolidation, both will be 6 lakh only. Okay, so here now if you take is, if suppose the income was 10 lakh or the net profit before tax was suppose 10 lakh, what will happen? What will be the accounting income in the first year and what will be the taxable income? Their accounting income will be 10 lakh minus 2 lakh. It will be 8 lakh rupees. What will be a taxable income? Your taxable income will be 10 lakh minus 3 lakh, which is 7 lakh rupees. So what happens is that in the first year, there is a 1 lakh rupees difference. There is a 1 lakh rupees difference. What is this difference here? Accounting income is greater than taxable income. Now let's take second year. Second year also same. 10 lakh minus 2 lakh, 8 lakh. Taxable income also 8 lakh. So no difference. Whereas in the third year, your accounting income will be again 8 lakh, but your taxable income will be 10 lakh minus 1 lakh, which is 9 lakh only. Here what happens? Here also there is a difference of 1 lakh between 8 lakh and 9 lakh. But this time your accounting income is less than taxable income. So here if you see, this difference of 1 lakh is getting reversed in the coming up years. First it was accounting income is more than taxable income. But then after a point your accounting income became less than your taxable income by 1 lakh. So what happens is that even though the difference has arisen in a particular year or originated in a particular year, it is capable of getting reversed in the coming up years or in the future period. So this kind of a difference will be known as your timing difference. This kind of a difference will be known as your timing. So what eventually happens is that your deferred tax liability is created first, and in the coming up years a deferred tax asset is created. So what happens? The difference gets reversed. So here one more thing that you would need to understand is that, or I'll explain it to you after the permanent difference itself. Okay, we'll not go into that concept now. First I'll explain the permanent difference now. So now that you have understood timing difference, it is very easy to understand permanent difference now. So there is a difference. What is the difference between? The difference is between your taxable income and your accounting income, and it is for a period. Okay, fine. Or you can say, okay, the difference between your taxable income and your accounting income is your difference. Now what does the word permanent mean here? What does the word permanent mean here? So permanent difference means that this difference gets originated in one period or arises in one period, but it do not reverse, but it what? But it will not reverse in subsequently or in the coming periods. It will not reverse. If it is not going to reverse, that means it is going to be a permanent difference. For this, you will not create, don't create DTA or DTL. Okay. So example I have given here. See, there is one example. So take the example of exempted income. So what will happen is that if there is exempted income, it will not be considered as income in your income tax. This will not be considered as income in your income tax. But what will happen? This exempted income is only exempted as per tax laws. While you are calculating as per accounting records, this income will be considered. This income will be considered. Okay. So due to this, what may happen is that, so at one place the income will be higher and the other place the income will be lower. So where the income is higher, you will pay more tax. Where the income is lower, you will pay less tax. Okay. So here also there will be a difference in tax. Here also there will be a difference in tax. But this difference in tax, you will not take it as a deferred tax. You will not book it as deferred tax. Why? Because in the coming up years, this is not going to get reversed. This exempted income will not get reversed, due to which you will not be able to book your book the tax difference as your deferred tax. Okay, fine. So this I've already explained. If your accounting income is not equal to taxable income, your tax on accounting income will also not be equal to your tax on taxable income. So what will happen? Your tax expense will not be equal to your current tax. If your tax expense is not equal to your current tax, your tax expense must be equal to current tax It might be either plus or minus deferred tax. That deferred tax might be a deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability, and deferred tax will only be created when you have a timing difference. Okay. So this was the whole summary of the concept that we had read. Now, what I am going to explain you is, why do we name it as a deferred tax asset when we minus? Why do we name it as a deferred tax liability when we add it? So that concept or that logic is what I am going to explain you now. Okay, yes, see. So there may be two cases. One is where you create a DTL, and the second case is where when you create a DTA. So when do you create a deferred tax liability? When do you create a deferred tax liability? When you do current tax plus deferred tax and find out your tax expense, that is when you create your deferred tax liability. Correct? When you add, you create a liability. Okay, fine. So what happens here is that, so here this means that your current tax is less than your tax expense. That's why you are adding something, right? So your current tax is less than your tax expense, or we can write your tax expense is more than your current tax, or your tax expense is more than your current tax. If your tax expense is more than your current tax, that means your accounting income is also more than your taxable income. Your accounting income is also more than your taxable income. What it means is that, it means that you have paid less tax. That means current tax what you have paid to the government, current tax what you have paid to the government is actually less. Okay. Is less than what? It is less than what the tax you have accounted in your books. Okay, so what you have given to the government is less. So since whenever we book a deferred tax and it has a capability of getting reversed in the future, that means in the future what will happen? Since you have paid less today, you are going to pay more tax in the future. If you have paid less tax today, you are going to pay more tax in the future, because it is going to get reversed someday. So that means someday your current tax is going to be higher than your tax expense. So when your current tax is going to get greater than your tax expense in the future, that means you'll have to pay more tax, right? So today you are paying less tax, okay, but when it gets reversed, you will have to pay more tax in the future. That means in the future, it's a obligation. It's an obligation that you have to fulfill. So due to which you create it as a deferred tax liability. So now I hope you understand. The same way what may happen is that when your accounting income is less than taxable income, what will happen? When your current tax is more than your tax expense, what you do? You do current tax minus deferred tax to get your tax expense. So when you do minus what I told you, you will create a deferred tax asset. Okay. So here what they tell you is, it means that if you have paid more tax now, more tax today, because since your current tax is more, that means the tax that you pay to the government will also be more. So today you have paid more tax, okay. But when in the future this is going to get reversed, and one day when your taxable income is less than your accounting income, that day you will pay less tax. Okay. So that means that it acts like a prepaid tax, that today you have paid more, so tomorrow in the future you will have to pay less only. So it is like a asset to you. It is like a prepaid tax, or we may say it is a asset to you. So therefore we name it as a deferred tax asset, and we create a deferred tax asset. So I hope now the concept of deferred tax liability and the concept of deferred tax asset and why we name it so is also clear to you. Now before we move on to the next topic, I would just like to explain how you pass the journal entry. So for deferred tax liability, so liability always gets credited and assets always get debited. That rule everyone knows. So P&L account debit to deferred tax liability, whereas if it's asset, it will be deferred tax asset to P&L account. Okay. So this is the basic entry. So this also you have understood. And yes. So whenever you present it, how you will present in the statement of P&L is that you will write tax expense, and then you will show whatever the current tax is there and whatever the deferred tax is there. Adding these both, you will get your tax expense, or like whatever the equation is, then by solving these both, you will get your tax expense. So this is how you must present in your statement of P&L. Okay, fine. So this also I have explained. So now let's move on to our next concept.
So the next concept that we are going to see is about the creation of DTA. So until now I told you, like, depending upon the circumstances or the conditions that arise, you will either create a DTA or you will create a DTL. So there is one more thing that you would need to understand while you create a DTA or DTL is that whenever you create a DTL, or whenever there is a condition that you have to create a DTL, there is nothing that you have to think about and you can directly create a DTL. Okay, so there is no restrictions on creating a DTL. But whenever you are going to create a DTA or a condition is such that you have to create a DTA in that there are a few restrictions or a few conditions that you have to keep in mind so that you can create the DTA. So while creating DTL, no restrictions. If there is a condition that is telling you to create DTL, create it. But if there is a condition where it says that you have to create a DTA, there are a few things that you also have to keep in mind before creating it, which will tell you that whether you can create a DTA in such situation or not. Okay, so now we are only going to focus on the DTA. So we are going to focus on the creation of DTA. Okay, so before I move on and explain you the concept, there are two words that you would need to understand. The first is unobserved depreciation, and the next thing that you would need to understand is about the loss carry forward. Okay, so in these two cases also, whenever you have unobserved depreciation or you have any losses that you are going to carry forward in the coming years, in that situation also DTA will only arise. So how will it arise or what does these both words mean? I'll first explain that to you and then we'll move on to the concept. Okay. So first is unobserved depreciation. So what is unobserved depreciation is? See, so what happens is that suppose in year one, what happens is you have some depreciation. Say you have a depreciation of 10,000 rupees. Okay. But what happens is that there is a lack of profits in the profit and loss account. That means the profit, what you have is only suppose 5,000 rupees. Okay. It is only suppose 5,000 rupees. That means there is expense of 10,000. But the income that you have or the profit that you have is only 5,000 rupees. So you cannot set off the whole depreciation of 10,000 with that 5,000. So what will you do in such cases? You will also do profit 5,000 minus depreciation 5,000 and you will make it 0. So here what happens is that an amount of 5,000 is unobserved. An amount of 5,000 is unobserved. Okay. So this is what is unobserved depreciation. So 5,000 rupees of depreciation you were not able to account it this year. So when we'll read it through the sentence one so you understand. So unobserved depreciation is the excess amount of unaccounted depreciation. Excess amount of unaccounted depreciation that cannot be adjusted in the current year. Why cannot you adjust the whole 10,000 in the current year? Because of lack of profits in the P&L account. So because of lack of profits in the P&L account, you were only able to set off that much depreciation. You are only able to set off the depreciation up to the amount of profit. More than that, you were not able to set off. So the remaining 5,000 is the excess amount of unaccounted depreciation. So what will happen when you have this unaccounted depreciation is that you are allowed to set it off against other head of income and can be carried forward for the adjustment in the forthcoming years. That means in the coming years, whenever you have profit, you can adjust the depreciation that time. What do they say? In the upcoming years, whenever you have in the forthcoming years, whenever you have profit, at that time you can set this depreciation. So what happens? So suppose in year 2 what happens if there is a profit. Okay, if there is a profit suppose of 20,000 rupees profit you have. So what happened in the previous 5,000 rupees depreciation you were not able to set off. So what will you do? You will put it here unobserved depreciation 5,000. This year you will set it off with a profit and your profit will come down to 15,000. By 5,000 it will reduce and it will come down by 15,000. So if there was no unobserved depreciation, what would have happened? You would have paid a tax on 20,000. But now since because of the unobserved depreciation, what has happened? You are only paying tax on the 15,000 rupees. So what happens? The amount of tax has been reduced. that you have to pay in the upcoming years, the tax amount will be reduced because unobserved depreciation will be taken as an expense. Okay. So what will happen? So what did I tell you? In the future, if any day you have to pay less tax, in the future if you have to pay less tax, or your profit will come down due to any expense, at that time you will treat it as a DTA, because in the future you have to always see for future. In future what you are going to do, in future you are going to pay less tax. That means it's like a asset to you in the future, so you will create a DTA here. Okay, so this is unobserved depreciation. In this case, the DTA will be created. Another case where a DTA may be created is the loss carry forward case. So what is loss carry forward case is that it refers to an accounting technique that applies the current year's net operating loss. That means in case in year 1, if you have a loss of, in current year if you have a loss of 7,000, what it tells you is that in the future years net income, that suppose in year 3 if you have got a profit, or sorry, in year 2 if you have got a profit of suppose 10,000, what you can do is this loss of 7,000 which you have incurred in year 1, you can set it off in year 2 so that your profit will get reduced and you can pay lesser tax. Okay, see why they do this? Here what they will do, here they will do loss carry forward. How much? 7,000 rupees. So they will reduce it from the profit and the remaining profit will only be 3,000. So here the profit is reduced due because the loss has been carried forward to the next year. So what they tell you is that, so current year's net operating loss, that is 7,000 rupees, you will set it off with the future year's net income, that is with the 10,000 rupees you will set it off to reduce the tax liability. If there was no loss carry forward, you would have paid tax on 10,000. But now since there is a loss carry forward, your profit has reduced to 3,000 and you will only pay tax on this 3,000 rupees. So what happens due to this is that the amount the company owes to the government in taxes will get reduced. That means the company will have to pay lesser taxes to the government. So in this case also there is a future benefit, that in the future you will have to pay less taxes. So in this case also, due to the benefit in future, you will create a DTA, deferred tax asset. So these are the two cases where you might create a DTA. I'm not telling you that these are the only two cases. These are one of those two cases where you can create a DTA. Okay. So in these two cases, so what happens is that when you have the case of brought forward losses or unobserved depreciation, and due to this case, if you are planning to create, due to this case, if you are planning to create a deferred tax asset this year, what you have to do is you have to check for, before creating the DTA against, for this, you have to check for virtual certainty. Okay, what does virtual certainty means? That you must at least be more than 90% sure. You must at least be more than 90% sure that in the future you will have some profits against which you will be able to set off the brought forward losses or the carry forward losses and the unobserved depreciation. Okay, so you must have that virtual certainty, at least more than 90% you must be certain. Okay, so this certainty, only certainty is not enough. If you think, yes, I will have 90, more than 90%, I am what? If you think that more than 90%, I am sure that I'll get a profit in the future so that I can use the brought forward losses and unobserved depreciation, that is not enough. You must also have some supporting evidence which is, supporting your certainty. If you're telling I'm 90% sure, how are you saying it? Do you have any evidence? Is what they are asking. So you must also have some kind of a supporting evidence that supports your certainty. Okay. So if you have virtual certainty also, and you have supporting evidence also, if you have both, then in such case you can create a DTA. If you don't have virtual certainty, or if you don't have any supporting evidence related to it, then in such case you cannot create a DTA. So the condition, you must fulfill both the condition. You must fulfill the condition of virtual certainty also, you must fulfill the condition of supporting evidence also. Only if your only virtual certainty is not enough. Okay, fine. So In case if you have both virtual certainty and supporting evidence, create a DTA for it. If you don't have, then don't create DTA for it. Even though in the future year there might be a chance that brought forward losses and unobserved depreciation might get set off, but since you're not more than 90% sure or more than supporting evidence is not there, then in such case please don't create a DTA. Please don't create a DTA even if the condition is saying you so. Even if the condition is telling you to create a DTA, do not create a DTA in case you don't have virtual certainty and supporting evidence. Okay, fine. So related to this, let's first see an example and then we'll move on to the case 2. Okay, so what it says is that a listed company is incurring heavy losses since the last several years. So if it is incurring heavy losses since the last several years, what it can do in the future? What happened? 1 minute. So in the future, if any day it has profit now, what it can do? It can, carry forward its losses and it can reduce its profit down so it can pay lesser taxes. So in such case, usually what you will do, you will create a DTA because in the future you are getting some benefit. Okay, but what in the next sentence they tell you is that they tell you this industry in which this listed company is working, it is in which it is functioning, it is not expected to perform. What it is saying, it is not expected to perform better in the next few years. That means in the next few years, there is no chance or there is very, very less chance of having profit. Okay. So what happened was that while finalizing the accounts for the year ended 31st March 2021, the CFO of the company decided to create a DTA for the tax benefit that would arise in the future years. So what did the CFO thought? The CFO didn't know the rule that we read now. What did the CFO thought? So since so many years we are getting losses in the future, if we are going to get profit now, that time we can use this losses so that our profit will also reduce and due to which our taxes that we are going to pay to the government will also reduce. So he thought like that and he created a DTA. Now you have to answer whether in such case should he actually create a DTA or not. That means whether whatever he has done right now by creating a DTA, whether it is right or not is what we have to answer. So see, so intelligent students like you, what the answer is that they tell you that as per AS22, so you guys answer as per AS22, DTA should be recognized for all timing differences subject to the consideration of prudence. We understand that this is a timing difference only because in future the reversal may happen, but it is subject to the consideration of prudence rule. It is subject to the consideration of prudence rule. So yes, so what you tell is that see, recognition of deferred tax asset with respect to the unobserved depreciation and carry forward of losses requires what? It requires virtual certainty, and not only virtual certainty, but the virtual certainty should be supported by convincing evidence. That what the evidence must convince us is that in the future there would be sufficient income. However, what happens is that in the present case, there seems to be no virtual certainty, correct? Because they are telling that it is expected that there will be no profits in the future. And therefore, the entity should not create DTA. So what happens, whatever the CEO's decision was there to create DTA, it is wrong in this case. So I hope this you would have understood. Okay, fine. So there is another case. So now we have seen two cases of brought forward losses and unobserved depreciation. So what about the cases other than brought forward losses and unobserved depreciation? So now we are going to learn about items other than brought forward losses and unobserved depreciation. Like example one of the case, maybe the example one we saw where we created a DTA, right? There also, just like that, I should actually not have created DTA. There was a condition, only if that condition was fulfilled, I should have created a DTA, but it's okay. At least now we will understand and we'll try to imply it. Here, what they say is for items other than brought forward losses and unobserved depreciation, you must at least check if there is reasonable certainty. What is reasonable certainty? Like how you have reasonable assurance in audit. Like that, reasonable certainty means at least 60 to 70% you must be certain that in the future you will have taxable income. that in the future you will get profits. Okay, so at least that reasonable certainty must be there. So if the reasonable certainty is there, then you can create DTA. If the reasonable certainty is not there, you cannot create a DTA. Okay, so I hope both the cases are clear to you. Okay, so I think I've explained this. We don't need more explanation on this. So we'll move on to the next concept. So the next concept that we are going to learn is about the tax holiday period. What we are going to learn is about the tax holiday period. See, accounting for taxes on income in situations of tax holiday under section 80IA and 80IB of Income Tax Act 1961. Okay. So now first, before we understand how to do the DTA and DTL in this case, we'll first understand what is a tax holiday period. What does tax holiday period means? A tax holiday period is a period during which a person or a company is allowed to pay what? No tax or less tax than usual. Okay, so there will be a period in which the company, that company need not pay tax at all. Even though they are liable to pay tax, they need not pay tax at all, or they can pay only very less tax compared to what they actually should have paid. Okay, so tax holiday is a period during which a person or company is allowed to pay no tax or less tax than usual. Okay, so the same sentence is repeated. Okay, fine. For example, we can say, let's see, there is a company, and in that company is going concern. Okay, so in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 5 years, the first 5 years of the company will be a tax holiday period. So the first 5 years in the company will be a tax holiday period. So here tax holiday period means even though in the first 5 years the company might be liable to pay tax, or they might have taxable income also, and they might have current tax also, they need not pay that. Okay, so tax holiday period they are running into. So in this period, whatever tax whatever tax you have to pay, you need not pay at all. So zero tax you would need to pay. And after the 5 years is completed, in the coming years, whenever you are liable to pay tax, you will have to pay tax. So this is the company. Okay, this is how the company is working for now. So now what we are going to do is we are going to understand, so what should be done in this tax holiday period. So what they tell is, in the tax holiday period, you have to see if there is a timing difference which is arising in the tax holiday period and also getting reversed in the same tax holiday period itself. That means if you are creating any DTA or DTL in the tax holiday period, if it is getting reversed also in the same tax holiday period itself, then you need not create any DTA or DTL. Then you need not create any DTA or DTL. But if the timing differences is arising in the tax holiday period, okay, but it is getting reversed only after tax holiday period, in such case what you have to do, you have to create a DTL or a DTA in the year of its occurrence itself. So whenever it's occurring in that year itself, you have to create the DTA or DTL. Okay, so two cases. Case number 1, tax holiday period itself, the timing difference is arising and the timing difference is getting reversed in the tax holiday period itself, then don't create. In case arising in tax holiday period but getting reversed after tax holiday period, in such case you have to create DTA or DTL in the year of occurrence itself. You can create in the year of occurrence itself. You can create. Here, see. Here we'll take this example. So like I told you, in the company, the first 5 years it's its tax holiday period, and after that it's not on tax holiday period. So what happens is that in the first 3 years, DTL, there is a DTL of 5,000 in the first year, there is a DTL of 3,000 in the second year, and there is a DTL of 2,000 in the third year. In what happens is that in the fourth and fifth year, what happens is that the timing difference is being reversed, and what happens now, they create a deferred tax asset of 1,000, and in the fifth year they have a deferred tax asset of 1,750. Usually what you can do is you can either create DTA and DTL side by side as per your DTA and DTL, or else what you can do is directly instead of creating this DTA, what you can do is directly from DTL you can reduce it. Directly from DTL itself you can reduce it. Okay, it's like debit and credit only. Rather than creating a debit and credit, what you can do is whatever the amount is, you can directly reduce. Rather than creating this credit, you can directly reduce this amount from the debit itself. Okay, so both are the same. Whether you credit it or reduce from the debit, it is going to be the same only. So same way. So what they do is instead of creating the DTA, what they do is they do the DTL reversal. They reverse the DTL. So how much they are able to reverse is in the 4th year they are able to reverse 1000 rupees and in the 5th year they are able to reverse 1750. This is what happens in the first 5 years. So now what you can do is that see. So I'll write it here. Okay. So year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the first year, what happened? You created DTL of 5,000. I mean, you had a DTL of 5,000. In second year, you had a DTL of 3,000. In the third year, you had a DTL of 2,000. And then what happened? In the fifth year, you can either name it as DTA or you can say it as DTL reversal. Okay. So DTA reversal, what happened in the 4th year, it would be 1000 and in the 5th year, it would be 1750. So what this AS22 tells is that you should not create a DTA or DTL if the timing difference has arisen in the tax holiday period and also have got reversed in the tax holiday period. So now first let's see. Here see there is DTL. Now the first question is whether this 5,000 rupees of DTL which has arisen, whether you should create a DTL for that or not. For the 5,000 difference or the 5,000 timing difference that has arisen in the first year, for this 5,000 whether you should create a DTA or DTL or whether you should not create is what we are going to understand now. Okay. So what happens, you have to first see whether the 5,000 rupees which has arisen in the first year, whether it is getting reversed in the tax holiday period itself, whether it is getting reversed in the tax holiday period itself, you have to see. Okay, so when does the reversal is happening? The reversal is only happening in the 4th and 5th year. So what you have to see is in the first year, the 5,000 difference which has come, whether it is getting reversed in either in the 4th or 5th year, you have to check. Okay. So how much is getting reversed in the 4th and 5th year? A total amount of only 2,750 is getting reversed. That means even though 5,000 has arisen in the first year, only 2,750 is getting reversed in the tax holiday period. Okay. The remaining amount will only get reversed after the tax holiday period. The remaining amount will only get reversed after the tax holiday period. So how much will get reversed after the tax holiday period? After the tax holiday period, it will be 5,000 minus 2,750. So it is 2,250. So what happens is that out of this 5,000, only 2,750 is getting reversed in the tax holiday period. The remaining 2,250 will only get reversed after the tax holiday period, right? So what did we study? We studied that if it is getting reversed in the tax holiday period, do not create DTA, DTL for that. So now out of this 5,000, for 2,750, since it is getting reversed in the tax holiday period itself, you must not create DTL for it. The remaining 2,250 rupees, since it is getting reversed after the tax holiday period, you should create a DTL for it. You can create a DTL for it. Okay. So I hope this you would have understood. Second doubt that you might have is, see, why do we take this 2,750 against 5,000 only? Why not you take it against 3,000 or why not you take it against 2,000? One thing that you have to remember is that you should only use FIFO method while doing the reversal of timing differences. You should only use FIFO method while doing the reversal of timing differences. So, if 5,000 is what has arisen first, the reversal when it is happening also, for that only the reversal will happen first. Okay. So, how much is the DTL that you should create every year? So, see, DTA or DTL should be created in the year of occurrence itself. So out of this 5,000, 2,750 is getting reversed. So no DTA, DTL for that. The remaining 2,250 for the DTL shall be created in first year. Second year 3,000 will be there. Out of 3,000 is there anything getting reversed? No. So for the whole 3,000 you can create a DTL in the second year.
The same way in the third year, whether you will have any reversal in the coming up years or in the tax holiday period, no. So the whole 2000 will get reversed only after the tax holiday period. So for that also in the third year itself you can create a DTL. So this is the concept of tax holiday period. So I hope you would have understood this concept. Okay. Okay, so now let's move on to the next concept. Yes. Okay, so the next concept that we are going to read is about MAT, minimum alternate tax. So this is the concept that we are going to study, and this is the last concept. Okay, after this there are no more concepts in AS22. After this we'll only see a few practical problems and then complete this. Okay, fine. So minimum alternate tax. So what is minimum alternate tax or how it works in detail, I'll not go. Only whatever is related to your examination part or how much you will need in relation to your examination point of view alone, I'll explain and leave. Okay. So what you have to do is, so first I'll tell you, okay, how you have to find out your current tax if in the question they have given you minimum alternate tax details also. So what you have to do first is that you have to find out your current tax. How will you find out your current taxes? Usually how do you find out current tax? Whatever the tax is there on taxable income will be your current tax. Tax on taxable income will be your current tax. Okay, but now what you have to do is you have to find out higher of the two. Higher of the two. So what is the first option? The first option is your normal option, the same option as this. So taxable income into tax rate. So the first option is taxable income into tax rate. Usually how you find out your current tax, the same way you can first find out the current tax. The second way in which you have to find out, the second option that you have here is that what you have to do is you have to do book profits multiplied by MAT rate. What you have to do? Book profits into MAT rate. Remember, book profits is not same as taxable income or accounting income. Book profits is something very different. Okay, so this is not taxable income or accounting income. So don't get confused with accounting income or taxable income here. Book profits is different. So what you have to do? You have to do book profits into MAT rate. So MAT rate is also not equal to your tax rate which is given in the question. So MAT rate is also different. So you have, second what you have to do is you have to do book profits into MAT rate. So once you do taxable income into tax rate, you will get one tax amount. The same way if you do book profits into MAT rate, you will get a tax amount. What you have to do is both the tax amount you have to compare and find out which one is higher. You have to compare both of them and find out which one is higher. That will be your current tax. That is going to be your current tax. Okay. Yes. Okay, fine. There are a few other points that I have to explain here, but first we'll start with the sum so you get more clarity on it. So there is one illustration related to this. Yes. Okay. So what happens is that from the following details of A Limited for the year ended 31st March 2021, calculate the deferred tax asset or liability. You have to calculate as per AS22 an amount of tax to be debited to the P&L account for the year. Okay, so that is what you have to find out. Okay, so in the question what and all they have given you accounting profits is 6 lakh, book profit as per MAT is 3,50,000, profit as per income tax, so this is nothing but your taxable income is 60,000, tax rate 20%, MAT rate 7.5%. Okay, so first now to find out your current tax, what you have to do is you have to find out you have to find out taxable income into tax rate. B, you have to find out book profits into MAT rate. Book profits into MAT rate. Okay. So here see they have done. So what is your taxable income? Your taxable income is 60,000. So 60,000 into tax rate 20%. So if you do 60,000 into 20%, your tax will come out to be 12,000. Then again next what you have to do? You have to do book profits into MAT rate. So what is the book profit? Book profit is 3,50,000 into what is the MAT rate? 7.5%. So 7.5% if you do, you will get 26,250. So this is your option A and this is your option B. So higher among the both will be your current tax. So higher amongst the both will be your current tax. So what will be your current tax? 12,000 or 26,250? So 26,250 will be your current tax. 26,250 will be your current tax. So this will be your current tax. Okay, this we are clear. Okay, fine. So
once you have found out your current tax, the next thing that you have to find out is what is your DTA or DTL. And this is where the most people make mistakes because they are not very clear of the upcoming concept that I am going to tell you. Okay. So whenever you are going to find out your DTA or DTL, in no way should the MAT minimum alternate tax, it should in no way affect your calculation of DTA or DTL. So whenever you are going to calculate DTA or DTL, forget that in the question something related to MAT was given. Forget. Okay. Forget that something related to MAT was given. Now in case if in the question MAT was not given, what would you usually do? You would first find out what is your tax as per accounting income. So a tax as per accounting income, how much it will be? It will be 6 lakh into 20%. So 6 lakh into 20%, 1,20,000 will be your tax as per accounting income, or you can say your tax expense. So what is this 1,20,000? Your tax expense. Okay. Next, what will you do? You will find out your current tax. So if in the question any information related to if MAT wasn't given, what would be your current tax? Your current tax would be tax as per taxable income. So taxable income is 60,000 into 20%, 12,000. So this 12,000 would have been your current tax in case MAT wasn't given in the question. So if MAT was not given in the question, you would have formed this equation. Tax expense equal to current tax plus or minus deferred tax. You would have done plus or minus deferred tax. So what is the tax expense? Tax expense is 1,20,000. What is the current tax? Current tax, if there was no MAT, it would have been 12,000. Okay, it would have been 12,000. Now, whether you have to do plus or minus, you have to add a deferred tax to get your tax expense. You have to add your deferred tax with the current tax to get your tax expense. So, how much will you add? If you add 1,08,000, you will get your deferred tax. So whether this is a deferred tax asset or liability, since we are adding here, what it will be? It will be a deferred tax liability. It will be a deferred tax liability. So therefore, what is your deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability as per AS 22? So it will be a deferred tax asset of 1,08,000 rupees. So here you will create a deferred tax liability of 8,000 rupees. Okay, fine. So this is clear. So now we have found out what was the current tax as per MAT, and also we have found out DTA, DTL separately. Okay. So whenever you are finding out the amount that has to be debited to the profit and loss account, how will you do that is, you will do, see this one. Tax expense will be equal to, when that means whenever you are making your P&L account, no, whenever you are making your P&L account, what usually you do? You do tax expense, whatever the total amount is there. How will you find out? You will do current tax minus deferred tax liability. This is how you usually do. Okay. But now since MAT has come, this will not be the normal current tax. This will be the current tax which is higher of either the taxable income into tax rate or book profits into MAT rate. So that current tax you have to write here. So what was that current tax? It is 26,250. Okay. And then what was your deferred tax liability? Your deferred tax liability was 1,08,000. That means what is your total tax expense? It will be 1,08,000 plus 26,250, no? So your total tax expense will be 1,34,250. So this is the amount that you are going to show in the statement of P&L. So this is the amount of tax that you will show in the P&L. Okay. So see, the amount that has to be debited in the P&L would be your deferred tax liability of 1,80,000. Then here, there actually you can directly here write current tax 26,250. But here they have anyhow given current tax plus excess of MAT over current tax. If you add 12,000 plus 14,250, anyway you will get 26,250. And your final answer is going to be the same, 1,34,250. Okay, so it will be same as what I did. Okay, fine. So this is how you do when a question is given to you with the MAT rate or MAT details. So first, what will you do? First, you will find out current tax. Current tax will be A, higher of taxable income into tax rate, or B, book profits into MAT rate. Book profits into MAT rate. Okay, first you'll find out current tax. Second step, what you're going to do is find out your DTA or DTL. One thing that you have to remember while calculating DTA or DTL is that you have to forget that something in the question related to MAT was given. You have to forget that. Normally, how you find out your tax expense, find out that. Normally, how you find out your current tax, find out that. Don't use this logic and all. Don't use this logic. Normally, how you find it out like that. Once you find out, you will get to know whether it is a deferred tax asset or a deferred tax liability. Third step, nothing you have to do. You have to do tax expense equal to how much ever the DTA or DTL is that plus current tax. But the current tax that you write here will be from the first step, and the DTA or DTL that you write here will be from the second step. So this is the only difference. Okay, so this is how you find out your tax expense. So I hope the concept related to MAT or minimum alternate tax is also clear to you all. Okay, fine. Now I think all the concepts have got over by now. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4 illustrations totally, out of which one illustration I've already did. So the remaining 3 illustrations we are going to do and then wind up this session. So yes guys, let's start with the illustration 1. So illustration 1, they tell you that Rama Limited has provided the following information. Okay. So they say that their depreciation as per their accounting records is 2 lakh rupees. But the depreciation as per their income tax record is 5 lakh rupees. Okay. So there is a difference in that. And they also tell that unamortized preliminary expenses as per tax record is 30,000. Okay. And they tell you that there is adequate evidence of future profit sufficiency. Why do they mention adequate evidence of future profit sufficiency? Because only if you have future profit sufficiency evidence, you will be able to create a DTA. So this means there is no restriction in the creation of DTA. Okay. So they ask how much deferred tax asset or liability should be recognized, and they tell you the tax rate is 50%. Okay, so I'll solve the solution in the way I do, and then you can refer the institute solution. Both answer will be the same, just the style of solving will be a little different. Okay. So we start as per tax records or as per tax laws. What happens here is that you have a net profit. Okay, see, so before I start this, I'll just tell you that I have taken net profit as an assumption. So it's easier for you guys to understand. I have taken an assumption. So net profit, I have taken an assumption of 10 lakh rupees. Suppose if the net profit is 10 lakh rupees, then as per tax records, how much is the depreciation? 5 lakh rupees is the depreciation. So depreciation of 5 lakh rupees. That means your taxable income is how much? Your taxable income will remain 5 lakh rupees. That means a tax at 50%, you will get your current tax as 2,50,000. So 2,50,000 will be your current tax. Okay. Then if you go as per accounting records, what will happen? You will again have the same net profit of 10 lakh rupees. And then you will have a depreciation of 2 lakh as per the question. See, depreciation as per accounting records is 2 lakh rupees. So you will have a depreciation of 2 lakh rupees. So if you have a depreciation of 2 lakh rupees, then your accounting income will be how much? 8 lakh rupees. So tax on 8 lakh rupees at 50% will be 4 lakh rupees, and this 4 lakh rupees will be your what? It will be your tax expense. So now let's compare these both and find out whether we get a DTA or a DTL. So your tax expense is 4 lakh rupees, whereas current tax is 2,50,000. That means now you are paying less to the government. You are only paying 2,50,000, whereas in your books it is 4 lakh. So in the future you will have to pay more. That means it is an obligation in the future. That means what will happen? You will create a DTL. Okay, so here see, the tax expense is 4 lakh rupees. Current tax is 2,50,000 only. So to make 2,50,000 into 4 lakh, you will have to add deferred tax. And when you, or you can use this logic also. Whenever you add deferred tax, it will always be a deferred tax liability. So in the first case, you have got a deferred tax liability of 1,50,000. Okay. And second in the question, they have told you that you have unamortized preliminary expenses as per tax record 30,000. So usually what is the income tax law says is that as per section 35D, the deduction for this preliminary expenses can be taken over 5 years. That means if you suppose have a preliminary expenses of 2 lakh or 3 lakh, over 5 years you can amortize it. Over 5 years you can amortize it. Okay, so this is what section 35D says. Whereas as per AS 26, as per your accounting principles, what it says is that preliminary expenses should be completely debited to the P&L account. So totally it can be directly debited to the P&L account. Okay. So here what will happen here, it is unamortized preliminary expense. Unamortized preliminary expense as per tax record means this year it is not belonging to this year. It is unamortized for this year. So 30,000 will be a disallowance. You cannot deduct it this year. Okay. So as per tax record, what will happen? This is also an assumption. This 1 lakh also have generally taken. Any figure you can take. There is no hard and fast rule. Okay. So net profit is 1 lakh rupees. Preliminary expenses, it is unamortized, so it is undeductible. Okay, so you don't have any preliminary expense. So in such case, what will happen? Your taxable income will be 1 lakh rupees only, and tax at 50%, 50,000 will be your current tax. 50,000 will be your current tax. Whereas as per accounting records, net profit is again 1 lakh. Whereas your preliminary expense, you can book it, totally debit it in your P&L account. So it is 30,000 totally have debited. So your accounting income is 70,000 rupees. On that tax at 50%, 35,000 rupees will be your tax expense. 35,000 will be your tax expense. So here what happens? Tax expense is 35,000. Okay, but what you're paying to the government is 50,000, which is higher. Now, if you pay more to the government in the future, you will get a benefit. If in the future you will get a benefit, what will you do? You will create a DTA. Okay, so your tax expense is how much? 35,000 rupees, whereas your current tax is 50,000. So, to bring 50,000 to 35,000, you will reduce or deduct your deferred tax. Whenever you do minus, you will get an asset. So here in the second thing, you will have a deferred tax asset of 15,000. So if you net off this, DTL is 1,50,000, DTA is 15,000. So if you net off this, you will get a DTL of 1,35,000. That is nothing but 1,50,000 minus 15,000. You will get a DTL of net DTL of 1,35,000. That is what is also done in the answer here, solution here. So you can have a look through it. Okay. Yes. So the second illustration was related to MAT. I have already explained that. So let's move on to the illustration number 4 and then we will come back to illustration number 3. So in illustration number 4, they tell you that Omega Limited is working on different projects which are likely to be completed within 3 years period. Okay. It recognizes revenue from these contracts on percentage of completion method. So depending on the percentage of completion method they use, and according to that they book their revenue. So if you would have understood AS7, construction contracts related. Okay. So related to this, there is also one AS. Okay. So construction, related to the construction contracts. If you understand that, you will be able to understand the sentence. Okay. So for financial statements during 10, 11, 11, 12 and 12, 13. So what is the revenue they have recognized in the year 10, 11? They have recognized 11 lakh. In year 11, 12, they have recognized 16 lakh. And the year 2012-13 they have recognized 21 lakh respectively. So all these they have recorded in their financial statements. In their financial statements means as per their accounting they have recorded this. They have recorded these revenue. Okay. So what they say is, but however, as for income tax purpose, it has adopted the completed contract method under which it recognized the revenue of 7 lakh, 18 lakh and 23 lakh for the 3 years respectively. So, how the accounting principles, according to the accounting principles, the revenue you have recorded each year is different from how you have recorded it as per your income tax purpose. Okay. So, income tax rate here is how much? It is 35%. They have told you to compute the deferred tax asset or liability for the years, coming up years. Okay. So, here we'll analyze, we'll make analysis. So, here year 1, year 2, year 3. So, accounting income, taxable income. So accounting income in the year 1 it is 11 lakh, whereas taxable income is 7 lakh. Accounting income in year 2 is 16 lakh. In tax it is 18 lakh. Accounting income as per in year 3 is 21 lakh. And income as per tax loss in the year 3 is 23 lakh. Okay, so these are the this is how they have booked their income. Okay. So now let's compute our deferred tax. So now let's compute our deferred tax. Okay. Yes. So in year 1, what will happen? Your taxable income is 7 lakh. Your accounting income is 11 lakh. So here what will happen? Your taxable income is more than your accounting income. Sorry, your taxable income is less than your accounting income. So if your taxable income has to be less than accounting income, in such case, you will also pay less tax to the government today. So that means in the future, you will have to pay more tax. So if in the future you have to pay more tax, now it is an obligation. So in such case, you will create a DTL. So how much DTL will you create? So how much it is? So 11 lakh minus 7 lakh. So how much is the timing difference? 4 lakh rupees is the timing difference. So 4 lakh rupees into 35% your tax, 1 lakh 40,000 will be your DTL. So this is the first time we are doing in this method, calculation of DTL. What we do is we take the, 1 minute. So what we do is we take the timing difference and you do timing difference into percentage of tax. So if you do this also, you will be able to find out your DTA or DTL. Okay. Yes. Fine. Because on the difference only you create deferred tax asset or liability, right? So the same concept. Okay. So 1,40,000 DTL in the year 1. So in year 2, your taxable income is 18 lakh, accounting income 16 lakh. So here the taxable income is more than accounting income. That is, today you are going to pay more tax to the government, whereas in the future you will pay less tax. So if in the future you will pay less tax, means what will happen? It will be a DTA. So instead of creating DTA now, what you can do is whatever the DTL you already have, you can reverse it. Instead of creating DTA, the DTL that you already have, you can reverse it. So it is reversal of DTL. How much? What is the timing difference? The timing difference is 18 lakh minus 16 lakh, 2 lakh rupees into tax rate 35%. So 70,000 will be your reversal in DTL in year 2. In year 3, 23 lakh is the taxable income, 21 lakh is the accounting income. Same way, taxable income more than accounting income. So today you will pay more tax. In the future you will pay less tax. So in the future it is a benefit. So therefore you will again create DTA. But here now what happens? You still have DTL left. See if you have still DTL left. So how much is DTL? 1,40,000. Out of this, in the second year you have already taken away 70,000 as reversal. So remaining 70,000 is there. So you have to reverse this 70,000 now. So again reversal in DTL. Instead of creating DTA, do reversal in DTL. How much is the reversal? How much is the timing difference? 23 lakh minus 21 lakh. 2 lakh into 35%. 70,000 is your reversal in DTL. Okay. So this is also a very simple problem. You can definitely do. Here see how they have shown. Deferred tax liability they have written. Then they have told 1,40,000 is the first year balance. 70,000 you already reversed in the second year, so 70,000 is only left as balance. In the third year, the remaining 70,000 also you reverse, so nil balance in DTL account. Okay, so yes, so the last illustration. So illustration number 3, they tell you that PQR's accounting year ends as on 31st March. The company has made a loss of 2 lakh for the year ending 31st March 2001. First year they have made a loss. Then year ending 2002 and 2003 they have made a profit of 1 lakh and 1,20,000 respectively. In the next 2 years they have made profit. It is assumed that loss for years can be carried forward for 8 years and tax rate is 40%. So what they tell is if in 1 year there is a loss, in the upcoming years you can carry forward it up to 8 years. And also the tax rate is 40%. Okay. By the end of year 1 or 2001, the company feels that there will be sufficient taxable income in future years against which carry forward loss can be set off. This line where did you already read? You have read in the creation of DTA concept. In that we read this line, right? Only if you have sufficient taxable income in the future, you can create a DTA against the carry forward loss, or else you will not be able to create a DTA. So here there is no restriction on DTA. Okay. There is no difference between taxable income and accounting income. So both income are the same. In the starting they had given you PQR's Limited's accounting year. Sorry. Yes. So they tell that both the incomes are same here except that carry forward loss. is allowed in these years ending 2002 and 2003 for tax purposes. They tell you that this carry forwarding of loss you can only do as per tax records, and that too for 2002 and 2003. So they have told you to prepare a P&L statements for this. Okay. So now let's first analyze the question. So there are 3 years, year ending 2001, 2002 and 2003. Your accounting income in 2001, you don't have an income, you have a loss of 2 lakh. In year 2, you have a profit of 1 lakh, and year 3, you have a profit of 1,20,000. So in the question, they tell you that your taxable income and accounting income, there is no difference between them. There is no difference between them. That means taxable income and accounting income are the same. Okay. So here if taxable income and accounting income was the same, as per taxable income in the first year also you would have a loss. So in the first year also, So in the first year also, that means you would have a loss of 2 lakh as per your taxable income. But as per tax records, what they tell you, you can set off this 2 lakh against the profits in the upcoming year. So in the upcoming year, do you have profits? Yes, you have 1 lakh profit and you have 1,20,000 profit. So now let's set off the loss with the future profits. So how much is the loss? Loss is 2 lakh. In the year 2, how much profit do you make? You make a profit of 1 lakh. So you can only set off the loss against the profit up to that profit amount only. So 1 lakh rupees loss you set off here. So out of 2 lakh, 1 lakh loss you have set off in the second year. So your taxable income is nil. 1 lakh profit minus 1 lakh loss, so taxable income nil. Then see, these are two different things. Okay, I'll just put a line here so you are able to understand. Okay, then in year 3 what happens? Taxable income, you have a taxable income of 1,20,000. Okay, but still you have a loss that you can carry forward. So how much loss is still left in the carry forward? So 2 lakh, you have 2 lakh was the balance, out of which 1 lakh you have already carry forwarded. Remaining 1 lakh is still the balance. So remaining 1 lakh loss you carry forward again, and you are left with a taxable income of 20,000. You are left with a taxable income of 20,000. In case if you are feeling I'm going fast, you can reduce the speed of the video and watch it. Okay. Yes. So as per taxable income, in the year 1 there is no income. In year 2 you have nil balance. In year 3 you have 20,000 profit. So this is the state now. Okay, so now let's find out. Okay, so in year 1 what happens? You have an accounting income of, you have a loss as per accounting records, you have a loss of 2 lakh rupees. Taxable income is nothing. So here what happens? Your taxable income is more than accounting income. How is my taxable income more than accounting income? Because nothing is better than loss. Zero is better than loss. Correct? Okay, fine. So therefore your taxable income is more than your accounting income. So if your taxable income is more than your accounting income, that means your current tax will also be higher. That means today you will be paying more to the government. Whereas in the future you might, since it is a timing difference only, in the future you will pay less to the government. So therefore in the future you have a benefit. So in case if you have a benefit in future, you will create a DTA. So you will create a DTA. So how will you show it in the P&L? You will put tax expense. How much is the tax expense? Tax expense will be accounting income into tax rate. How much is the tax rate here? Here the tax rate is 40%. Here the tax rate is 40%. So what will you do? You will do, so here see, you cannot bring tax here. So here tax expense will be 0. Why will the tax expense here be 0? Because you have a loss. On loss you don't pay tax, right? So here the tax expense will be 0. So here the tax expense will be 0. So what will be your current tax here? Here I have written a current tax of 80,000. Here I have written a current tax of 80,000. So people will get confused here. Like you don't have a taxable income. The taxable income is 0. Then how did you find out the current tax will be your question here? Okay. So here what happens is you would need not bring a current tax of 80,000 here, but one logic that you would need to understand here is that here a DTA will be created, because the DTA, just ignore whatever I have written there and understand this concept now. Okay, so DTA or DTL is created when you have a timing difference. It is created when you have a timing difference which would be reversed in the future. Okay, here what has happened is your accounting income is in a loss of 2 lakh. Okay,
Whereas, or we can say your accounting income is minus 2 lakh. Whereas your taxable income is how much? 0. So what is the difference between the accounting income and taxable income? 2 lakh rupees is the difference. So here 2 lakh rupees is the difference between your accounting income and taxable income. So since there is a difference of 2 lakh between your accounting income and taxable income, because accounting income is minus 2 lakh, taxable income is 0. So 2 lakh difference, right? Yes. So this is a timing difference. So on this you will have to create a DTA, and why it is DTA I already mentioned here. I already explained it to you here. So on 2 lakh you have to do 2 lakh into tax percentage. Timing difference into tax percentage. So what is timing difference into tax percentage? It is going to be 1 minute. What is the tax percentage? 40 percentage, right? So into 40 percentage. So 80,000 will be your DTA. So 80,000 rupees will be your DTA. So I hope you understand now. Just ignore this. Okay. So 80,000 will be your DTA in year 1. Okay. So in year 2 again, what happens? You have a accounting income of 1 lakh rupees, whereas taxable income is nil. See, here we did know it is nil. So taxable income is nil. So here taxable income is less than accounting income. Correct. So what will happen is that if taxable income is less than accounting income, today you will pay less tax. Correct. So in the future you will have to pay more tax. But what will happen if you have to pay more tax in future? It will be obligations, you will create DTL. But because already we have created DTA, what we are going to do is, instead of creating DTL, we are going to reverse this DTA itself. We are going to reverse this DTA itself. So now let's find out what is the taxable tax expense. So tax expense is nothing but accounting income into tax rate. Accounting income into tax rate is your tax expense. So accounting income is 1 lakh. So 1 lakh into 40 percentage, 40,000 is your tax expense. 40,000 is your tax expense. What is the current tax? Since your taxable income is 0, your current tax is also 0. Okay. So here what is the difference between both? 40,000. So 40,000 is nothing but your reversal of DTA. Okay. The same way in third year, your accounting income is 1,20,000. Your taxable income is 20,000. Taxable income is less than accounting income. So you do reversal of DTA. Same concept as year 2. So what will be your current tax? Your current tax will be nothing but your taxable income. 20,000 into 40 percentage, which is 8,000. And your tax expense will be 1,20,000. That is your accounting income into 40 percentage. 1,20,000 into 40 percentage, which will be 48,000. So what is the difference between current tax and taxable income? 40,000. So 40,000 is your timing difference, which will be nothing but your reversal of DTA. So this is what the sum is. I have covered all the sums now. So yes guys, so I hope you understand the whole AS22 and you have no doubts left. In case if you have any doubts left, you can leave that in the comment section below and definitely try to clear that. And yes, if you found this video helpful, make sure you like, share and subscribe to the channel, and also share it with your friends. And yes, thank you so much. Meet you in the next video. Bye.